Hello, everyone.
Look at you guys rolling in. Good to see you. Welcome today. Hello, hello. I see some familiar faces. I love it. I see some new faces, even better. So glad you guys could join us today. Hello, Phoebe. Hello, Leslie. Hi, guys. All right. Well, as we're getting started, of course, we'll have people rolling in. I know what it's like, a busy day. I'm sure you guys have got a lot on your plate. As people are rolling in, let's do some introductions in the chat. I would love to know, tell me about your store. Where are you from? And what do you sell? Because I think we've got a diverse group here today. So in the chat, introduce yourself. Hello, Allison. I see you. Ashley, Emma, good to see you guys. All right, so in the chat, tell us about your store. Where are you from? What do you sell? And I think we even have a poll. Could we put up our poll, Beth? On a little poll on what do you sell? I think that would be so helpful to see as well. All right. As you guys are doing that, where are we at with the chat? How are we coming? Okay. Ohio. So good. Texas, South Carolina. Hello, Allie. Iowa's in the house. Wisconsin's in the house. So there's a couple of us from Wisconsin in the house. Love that. Indiana, Virginia. Gift shop. What else do we see? Lots of accessories, some beauty, a few pet stores, lots of home and gift,
I see
toy
Colin from the
stores.
Palm Tree. You have to call him out. He's in my hometown.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, he's in Grapevine. My daughter worked for him. Hi, Colin.
Oh,
cool.
better.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a New Jersey. What's up, Jersey?
I know. Where's our East Coast friends? Dane needs some friends in the house. All right, good. Well, as you guys continue to drop where you're from, what you sell, maybe how long you've been in business, and as you answer the poll, I say, let's get started. Let's jump in. We're going to introduce ourselves. I would love to know in the chat, second question here, and I don't know if this is on a poll, but are you guys Hub members or not? I would love to just kind of get familiarity. Are you a member of the Hub or not? That would be so helpful. So we kind of know just familiarity level of everyone. I see some Iowa Hawkeyes in the house. I love that. Oh, Noelle from Pink Panache. Good to see you. All right, lots of members. Perfect. Past member. I'm not sure. We can help you with the I'm not sure's. If you're an I'm not sure, just message us. Either direct message here. Beth, you want to raise your hand? You can message Beth. She can help look that up for you. Or shoot us an email at happypeople@theboutiquehub.com and we can help get you familiar.
Mary Hill. I love it.
All right.
Familiar
Not a
faces.
member. Not a member yet. Okay, perfect. Well, good. This gives us a good idea. So most of you here are members, a few not yet. We can tell you more about that later. I promise this is not really the purpose of why we're here. Just to get to know who you guys are. We'll tell you about the hub, but more importantly, today we want to get you some really good information to make some sound decisions in the next couple of weeks and next couple of months. So as far as introductions go, you guys, nice to meet you. I'm Ashley Alderson. I'm the founder here at the Boutique Hub. And if you've listened to our podcast, Boutique Chat, maybe my voice is familiar that way. Every single week on Tuesdays, we launch new episodes. And I've been here at the Boutique Hub, launched the Boutique Hub back in 2013. So it's been a minute. I am originally from North Dakota. I live in Wisconsin now with my husband and our three kids who are all in busy middle school, high school sports, all the things. And I am super passionate about this industry. So I'm all about seeing the forest through the trees and hopefully giving you guys the most up-to-date resources, no matter where you're from, no matter what you sell, no matter how experienced or inexperienced you are. I just really am passionate about the hub being the central go-to place for you to make your life a little bit easier and operate a little bit smoother. And hopefully you also are able to, build a business you're really proud of and serves your needs, but also, and most importantly, you have a life that you love and you have time to live outside of running your business. So if we can put time and some security back on your plate, that's the goal as well. So thankful that you're here. I'll pass it around the room. Sarah, do you want to go next?
You bet. Hey guys, I'm Sarah Burks. I'm the Director of Partnerships Education here at the Boutique Hub. And I started in retail way back in 1992 or 3. It was just a while ago. So you guys, I teach a number of courses here at the Boutique Hub. I've walked in your shoes. I have felt many, many pains and through retail, all the things. And I'm an open book. I love to talk shop. I just feel where you guys are at right now today. And that's why it's so passionate for me to come and help do this session today, to just kind of open your eyes and ears to a few things, because that's what we do here at the Hub. I remember when I had my store, my head was down. I was doing the work. I had really no idea what was going on out in the real world because I was so busy running my business. And sometimes I got blindsided by the things I just didn't know, right? The big guys knew them. They had somebody in their corner telling them, and I didn't. And then enter the Boutique Hub. And that's why we're here today, to be your eyes and the ears. So I hope you guys, I'm excited about it. I'm glad you guys are here. And I hope you guys find a lot of value out of what we're going to talk about today. And yeah, proud of you guys for taking some time to be here. So I'm going to pass it to Samantha.
Hey guys, I'm Samantha Connor. I'm based in the DFW area, and I've been with the Hub for almost 5 years. The perspective I bring to the Boutique Hub is one from the sales rep point of view, and then the brand designer / owner. So I've dabbled in a little bit of both of those, but what I do here at the Boutique Hub is I connect people with the resources and the brands and the retailers and bring you guys together to do business. I am in charge of the market experience for the Boutique Hub. So if you've probably seen me in person with my team at the booth or in our showroom, but really excited to bring that perspective of what's happening on the brand side in this current economic industry and how we can help connect those pieces for you, the retailers, with the wholesale brands. All right, Dane, how about you?
All right, thanks, Samantha. So I'm Dane Cohen. I'm the newest member to the Boutique Hub. I may be a familiar face to some of you. I worked with Management One, really helping develop retailers' understanding of inventory planning and financial merchandising. So I've worked with independent retailers for many years now. But my real passion comes from I grew up in a retail family. So retail is kind of in my blood. I ran that business with my dad and my uncle for many years. So I was in the trenches for almost a decade in buying and store management. And so it's really great to just connect to everyone here and hopefully be able to bring, some real information, especially as it relates to profit and your numbers. So, I'm really happy that I'll be able to focus on kind of connecting with the Boutique Hub community on how we could build strength through knowing our numbers.
Good. All right. Beth, you want to go?
Me? I was not prepared to introduce
Beth is
myself.
here in the chat.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here answering all the questions. So just DM me or at me, and I'll help.
I love it. Beth is here in the chat. Phoebe is also here in the chat. Phoebe, if you want to wave. So love having all the members of the team here. All right. Well, Sarah, how about you kick this off, and then we'll kind of get into what we really want to cover today. Lots of things to talk about.
You bet. You bet. You guys, we, as all of you Hub members know, the Hub chatter has been loud with what is going on in the world with tariffs. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for me today? What is it going to mean for me tomorrow? We see your questions. We feel your stress, right? We have been on the phone. We have been collaborating and networking with all of our points of contacts, our industry experts here in the States, overseas. And we want you to know that that's what we're here to do is give you the information that otherwise you might not have access to. Grandma at Easter might have gave you her 2 cents of something, right? You might hear something on the news, but at the end of the day, we need to talk shop. We need to talk retail. We need to know what is happening in China. What does it mean for you guys? And Q4, every year is a battle. Amen. I mean, it is a battle. Every year, it's something different. I promise. I know it was in my retail business, and I'm sure it is in yours. This year, it's going to be another battle. But the whole idea is that you're not going into the battle with a slingshot, right? Like you're going into it with the Swiss Army knife of resources here that the Boutique Hub provides. And that is coming at you with education, resources, connections. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. So that's why we wanted to kick this off today and really start with the hot topics of, what are tariffs? What is it meaning to me? And how do I prepare? When I get off this call, what action items do I really need to be taking? So yeah, I hope you guys, we're excited and we're ready for some questions. We're going to do some Q&A at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep preparing your questions, guys. We will do some open Q&A once we get through kind of some of these thoughts. But ultimately, the goal here and really everything we do at the hub is, no fluff. We want actual information that is from boots on the ground. And we just really want to make sure at the end of the day, the goal is simple. It's to move you from kind of fear and uncertainty, which we're seeing in a lot of places, to a path of clarity. And you know exactly what actions you can take after today. And you can move forward with confidence. And the goal of today, I just want to set this tone. There's no, political undertones. We're not going to argue with each other about those sorts of things in the comments. That sort of thing's probably not going to be welcomed here. But just really getting down to business and understanding what can we do next and how should we be thinking about things, and what is actually within our control right now. So to kind of kick it off, Dane, you've been speaking a lot about this topic so far, so I'd love you to introduce kind of what we're seeing in terms of shifts in retail right now.
Yeah, so I think that what's important is to first do a little bit of a reality check, right? What is actually going on? And so my first thought is, right, we tend to in retail, and retailers have a funny thing that anything that happens, right? It's raining, it's drizzling outside, that impacted my sales, right? Every little thing really feels like it can derail your business. And now, of course, we have this giant news about a lot of information coming at us. But what is the reality? So here's where we're at right now. We have not seen consumer spending drop off just yet. And I think that's really important to acknowledge because a lot of people are feeling what's happening right now, but sometimes we get caught up in the fear and the panic rather than really looking at the facts. So there is some good news. There's opportunity. There's still opportunity to sell, and the economy is not slowing down. We just came off the biggest holiday season of all time. We're, trailing nicely for the start of 2025. But let's talk about the bad news, right? And here's where I want to kind of level set this, right? The tariff is the big word right now. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. But what we're really seeing is the US involved in a trade war with China, right? And that is just going to be a little bit of the new normal for the next foreseeable future. And so why I think that gives us an opportunity is right now, it gives us the chance to change our mindset and to lock in, right? And we can do two things. We could hope and pray that this is going to go away in the next month or two, or we could realize that there are going to be a lot of ramifications for the economy at large. But what is actually going to impact boutiques, right? And that's how we always want to think about it. If you're a home and gift store, how is this going to impact you? If you're a women's fast fashion store, how is this going to impact you? If you're a pet store, what will this look like for your business? And so just because we're seeing a headline about how something is impacting the global economy or even the US economy or even retail at large, that doesn't necessarily mean that that will be the same impact it will have on your store, your community, or your business. So when we come into this, we know there are going to be disruptions to trade. We know we're going to see price increases, and we know that we're going to have to be nimble and adapt. However, what we don't want to do is get into panic mode over things that may not actually come to pass in your specific business. So we're going to hopefully go over some strategies, some tools that we can actually use to prepare ourselves as we move into the end of the year, right? Especially, as Sarah said, going into Q4 this year. What are the opportunities? What will be the challenges? And what moves do we have to make to get ready?
All right, awesome. Well, Sarah, let's pick it up from there. So
Sure.
let's talk about, some of the things that we're seeing and we're hearing. And Dane, I think you set it up nicely. And keeping in mind, there's people here, from Canada, from America, from other countries. So we've got a little bit of a diverse crowd that everyone kind of plays their own unique piece in this.
Yeah, and I'll say, like I said, we are on the phones. We are working with many different vendors, resources, our connections in LA, our connections in China. And, I just want to kind of open the floor to what we're hearing. And, I was just having a conversation, actually just got another text message from one of our brands, Jane Casper, who is in the shoe industry. And she's saying, yes, this is increasing our prices. And because of delays, they're even actually now shipping by air. So that's another 600% increase in products, in pricing. And she is I reached out to her again earlier and she's like, oh, I got more. She's got so much to say on these topics. And then talking to our connections in China, we actually had a man foot on the grounds over there just a couple weeks ago. And, going in and working with the warehouses and the manufacturers, and some of the big ones, they've already shut down. The smaller ones, I use the example of you guys as small businesses. If you're in a small boat out on the water and you need to make a quick turn, you can, right? You're not a yacht. It doesn't take you forever to turn. So those smaller manufacturers, they're more nimble, just like you guys are. And so they're seeing a lot of things happen. What he's saying though, is because of the current state here in the United States specifically, there's a lot of manufacturing happening. The ports over there are busy. They're just not coming our way. So that's the reality. We're seeing things slowing down on the West Coast. We're seeing them in LA and Seattle. It's already slowing down. And they're saying pretty soon it's going to be slowing down on the East Coast. Now, the ports over in China are still busy. What does that mean? It means that they're working, they're doing things, unlike during COVID when it all shut down. It's just they're not shipping it here. So we want to identify the fact that what is coming in Q3 and Q4 could mean smaller quantities available for us as the small business owners here, right? And it could mean a lot of different things. Production is halted. That was one of the things Jane Casper was talking to me about. She goes, they're basically, a lot of manufacturers are pausing, or they're just not exactly sure what they want to do here in the States. Why? Well, same with us, right? How much is it going to cost me? We don't know. So do I wait? A lot of them are waiting. What's the labor cost? What's happening at the ports? Am I going to be, is there extra freight charges, different things like that? There's so many unknowns that right now, some businesses that maybe were teetering financially to begin with don't have the pocketbooks to take the risk. So that's a game that everybody is playing. And when we look at this as an opportunity for you as a business, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to need products. How do I handle these things? We have some choices we're going to make, right? Are we going to absorb these costs? Are we going to pass this on to our clients? The brands are saying the same thing to you. And some brands took a stance at the beginning. It's like, nope, I'm not going to pass this on. I'm absorbing this. But that's also when we kind of thought that was maybe a shorter game. Like Dane said, this does not look like it's ending right now. So as we kind of talk over like the state of where we are, there's just so much uncertainty, raw material volatility, right? That there's just so many things that are unknown. So I do just, as we're going to uncover like some opportunities for you guys and give you a roadmap here in a little bit, but I just want to kind of say it's not as easy as, well, there's always going to be product and I'll always be able to get it. Mm-hmm. We've played the game for the last few years, about 10 years now, that you could place an order at a market and it might beat you home, right? You might place an order in LA and it might actually beat you back home. The tides are changing, and that's the landscape that I'm not saying it's completely gone, but we do want to open your eyes and ears today to the fact that your buying patterns going forward are going to be shifting.
I just want to jump in and add a little bit to that, Sarah. And I think, in addition to everything that you said, just add on what's really important to know is your best-selling vendors, and we're going to talk about metrics and reports, but your best-selling vendors, I think step number one is having a conversation with them about, hey, where is your manufacturing taking place? Because it's not all vendors that are impacted. There's a lot of vendors who do not manufacture in China. There's a lot of vendors who are trying to get out of manufacturing in that space. And so there are a lot of vendors who are not impacted. And I know, Samantha, you're going to hit on that in a little bit as well. But just knowing kind of what is the lay of the land of your best-selling vendors. For example, I know Mud Pie sent out an email. Was that maybe yesterday? Some of you are probably Mud Pie vendors. And you're kind of seeing some of those start to trickle in. And we're also seeing a difference in what's happening in the home and gift space versus the apparel space, where home and gift orders so much further in advance. And so those of you in that space saw the impacts quite rapidly, even on orders you'd already placed, where in apparel, where it's so much faster and there's already so much product already stateside, those impacts aren't really landing yet because the product is already here. So just knowing exactly who your best-selling vendors are and where they manufacture and what their specific situation is really does make a huge difference. But as Dane and Sarah both mentioned, it is kind of a timeline of we could see some broader impacts really soon.
Yeah, and before we move on, I just feel like I owe it to you guys. I told you we are your eyes and the ears. So I'm gonna just read the text that Jane just sent because we do want to bring you real-time information. And she just said not only are they seeing 600% price increases, she's also saying many of our factories are now asking for full payment in advance because of the high number of cancellations. So these are conversations as you, I'm not sure who all of you are. Most of you, it looked like you were retailers. I'm sure there's some brands that have jumped on too, and I may have missed you. I apologize. But for those of you guys that are retailers, these are conversations we want to have so you can better understand the people that you are sourcing from, like what they're dealing with. And I can tell you the Jane Caspers of the world have your best interest at heart, right? They are treating you like you're their VIP customers. You have VIP customers and you want to bend over backwards and do what you can to that for them to save them as clients, right? And customers. Jane, as a wholesaler, looks at her retail stores that way, right? But at the end of the day, she also has to go back to the drawing board where she's getting her products from. And now they're demanding her paying upfront, everything upfront, because so many other people are canceling. So those are things that, and this is changing every day. So just as that, okay, I can better understand and empathize with the whole state of the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dane. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that really what is interesting is we have to think about this as a whole supply chain, right? So your vendors are potentially just as worried as you are and potentially feeling the effects even sooner. So it does really create a moment for conversation, for compromise, for partnership now more than ever. So, these are the conversations that we want to start having now with our vendors. And it also does leave some room for opportunity, right? Because there may be opportunity to strengthen relationships with certain vendors, lean into those buying programs. You may even have some more open pack opportunities or merchandise that they didn't used to have available to you that now will be because, they're relying on you to take those goods. So there is opportunity here. It's not all doom and gloom. There definitely will be moments of opportunity, especially with the right vendor partners.
Yeah, for sure. Just coming off of market, we were there in Nashville, back in March, and conversations there were a little bit different than they even are. I guess that was April than they are today. But the biggest thing is conversation. So you guys hit on that in the relationship. I do want to talk about from the education piece of like some of the terms that we hear getting thrown around and what they mean. So I know a lot of retailers are like, well, I'm looking for things that are made in the USA. Well, that gets pretty sticky, right? Because made in the USA, I'm looking at Dane's shirt, maybe denim, but I'm like, where did the buttons come from? Where did they get the thread? Where did that all come from? So some of those products were sourced. The materials are coming from overseas, but then assembled in the United States. So we can't have that really like easy button. It's kind of like with food, if you're like healthy, well, what does healthy mean? And so we want to have those conversations, relationships, the brands to get to know better what that means for you. So questions that I would really lean in and ask if I was a retailer right now, is talking to my brands and saying, one, you can ask for made in the USA and they'll give you some information about those. But the thing that you're probably going to be wanting to know is it a tariffed good? So if it's non-tariffed, it could be from China, it could be from somewhere, but it's already here stateside. And if it's here stateside, then they're not going to be adding on those tariffs because those weren't applied when it came. So you can still get those goods at a great price. In a few minutes, I'm going to share the names of the brands that are in the Boutique Hub that are providing non-affected products, which just means there hasn't been a tariff added to it yet. So that's going to be, a great opportunity for you there. But just key questions to ask. Number one, don't stop sourcing. Go to market, go talk to those brands, get on the phone with them, send them an email, reach out to them in the Facebook groups on the Boutique Hub, go to Hubventory, DM them, ask, will there be product increases? Do you have product right now that's not affected by tariffs? Can you add those fees as an additional or separate line item so I can see it outside of the actual product? And then I would ask too, what about existing orders? Maybe I already placed that order with you. Is it here in the US or is it now going to be subjected to tariffs? And then what if I want to place a future reorder? So really, like I said, we're creating a relationship with these vendors that's going to help us communicate and understand better. So let me drop some of those because I just teased them of what are some brands that have reached out to me personally that said, hey, I've got goods that are here stateside and I would love for people to buy them. We've got those products, Pressy, which is a jewelry company, Maker's Shoes, they ship out of South America, Makeup Junkie, they have a factory in Texas, so I'm super proud of that. We've got Nash Gray, Moonrider, Stifled Boots is in Mexico, Haha Mama, she's a Wisconsin brand, Ashley, Pixie Mood, Golden Lily, Costa Threads, Lady Lovendale, Cuddlefields. I could keep going on and on and on, but there's a lot of great opportunities for you guys to be working with brands that have non-affected goods that you can purchase now.
Samantha, I want to just jump in really quick. I don't know if you saw this, but Joseph from Trebian is here in the chat, and he just said we switched most of our production to be sourced in Mexico for that reason. That's another really great longtime hub member who would not be affected.
I'm adding you to my list, Joseph. And then for brands, I'm glad that you said that because I do see a lot of brands in here too. Yeah. And for brands, like what are things they should be doing? And Joseph, you hit it right. He's looking at his runway. Joseph's got a company called Trebian. His wife also has a wholesale brand company, and Phoebe's gonna be dropping those links for you guys. But what we've got to look at is, as a wholesale brand, can you move your manufacturing? Can you move your system for your supply chain? Do you have enough space? So one thing I want to call out to you guys, June 17th in Dallas, Dallas Market Center is going to be hosting an onshoring/nearshoring event. It's at 7:30 a.m. at the Trade Mart. So that's going to be falling during that gift show. That's a great opportunity if you're looking for sourcing, like I said, nearshoring or onshoring, which typically just means that it's coming from Mexico or South America, where it can make transit by truck or train instead of by air or by water. So that's going to be an example for you. But retailers, keep in mind when we talk about made in the USA or sourcing, China's got 80% of the cotton is made in China. And so that's where we're kind of feeling that of like, well, even if we don't manufacture it there, if that's where the cotton and the fabrics and the textiles were made, how are we going to adjust our strategy? And that's where we've really got to pull together, talk, and look for opportunities to change those supply chains. Yeah. Sarah, yeah, I was gonna say, one of the things that I saw here next that I kind of wanted to ask, and I'd be interested really to ask our attendees, is how many of you are talking about tariffs publicly? I feel like, Ashley, you said you heard from some brands. I've heard from some brands, but a lot of people aren't talking about it. And I think it's because they don't know what to say or how to address that. I'd be interested from you guys of like, how do you feel about that? Or do you feel comfortable talking about it to your customers and how are you navigating that?
And I would love to hear from you guys too in the chat. I see them coming in. We just had a big discussion about this. There was a huge thread a couple weeks in the hub. And the brand conversation, obviously, you should be talking about it to your retailers. I see Kathleen, I see you here as a longtime hub member, not impacted. So if you're not impacted as a brand, tell your customers. Retailers, however, the feedback that I'm getting is they want to keep their retail space a positive, kind of be the place where you can go escape from some of that negativity or worry or fear. And anytime I think about that, I just go back to the idea that you've got to be the energy you want to attract. You've got to be the space. If you want your space to be the place where people come and kind of get the break from everything else in the world, you've got to show up as that energy. And going back to the recession in 2009, I always loved this stat. They say that lipstick sales were at an all-time high in 2009 because it was one little way that women could come in and treat themselves. Maybe they didn't have cash to buy something big, but by gosh, they were able to buy something small. And so I think retailers showing up with maybe a different assortment plan or just testing out a few new product lines in a way that people can still treat themselves, even if they aren't going for the bigger purchase, which again, we're still seeing the bigger purchases happening right now. But just to think about what does that mean and how you show up for your customers.
Yeah, and Ashley, I think there's a way, and I saw another Ashley in the chat just put this in. There's another way to speak about tariffs that doesn't have to address it directly with your customers, which is support small business, right? I think you're going to see a lot of people that are going to want to rally around small businesses, community-minded businesses. And don't forget, like Sarah said, you are the speedboat and these big box retailers are the cruise ships that can't turn. So they're going to get hit really hard. And so home and gift, right? Target and Walmart said that they could be seeing empty shelves this holiday season. 87% of that product comes from China. their holiday product. So that may give an advantage for, local gift stores, local home stores, and local boutiques to really be able to gain some market share. So again, we want to look for these little nuggets of opportunity and definitely be small business community minded.
I think that's it's a great positive way. It's a message we're already sharing, being community minded and focusing on supporting small business versus leading with, fear, or there's just so many thoughts and opinions, and not everyone, I guess, sees the perspective of what's happening inside of the industry. So that's really good, Dane. When you also look across the industry, what do you think that strong boutiques are doing differently? Like, how are they showing up differently?
Yeah, so Ashley, you talked about looking at your best-selling vendors. It's
Mhm.
also really important to look at your slowest selling product and merchandise. So really across the board, I think the people that are coming into this with the strongest mindset are starting to look at this as facts of their business and the numbers of their business, right? Because we want to make sure that we're tracking how your sales or your receiving or your inventory levels are actually being impacted. So here's a great first step, right? Look at your last 90 days of sales and receiving. Okay. See what is moving for you and what is giving you ROI and what product categories are just maybe a little bit dead in the water. And remember, we want to always look at our sales versus our receiving. We can't just look at sales in a vacuum. So just as important as it is to know your best sellers, because that's where you're going to want to invest, make sure you place pre-orders, make sure that you're keeping those vendor relationships strong and buying into those vendors that are, best sellers and supporting your business and have great sell-through. And then the slow sellers, product categories and vendors, this is a nice time to start walking back from those, right? We don't want to be investing money in either slow moving categories, non-ROI producing categories, or vendors who are just not producing return for us anymore. So it's just as important to know what the slow sellers are as it is to know your best sellers so that you can invest there.
Can
Yeah.
you elaborate even a little further? I'm sorry, Samantha. Dean, can you elaborate even a little further on just the value of reporting right now and understanding numbers? Because I think you and I had this conversation this morning, actually, while we were recording a podcast, but I think um, there is a tendency in this industry, and I'll say for myself personally, I've caught myself saying those terms. I'm not a numbers person. And I hear that from a lot of retailers. And if there's ever been a time to become a numbers person, it's today, it's now, because I think there's opportunity hiding within our numbers that maybe we just aren't familiar yet. What other reports would you say we need to dig into right now to really understand what opportunities we might find?
Yeah, so actually, when I first joined the boutique hub, one of the first things I dug into, and if you are a member, I so strongly encourage you to go into the training library. We'll show you how to get there. And in the profit plan, there is a company scorecard, right? And so these are the metrics that every single week you should be tracking. Things like your margin, your initial markup, your sales. These are what we want to track week to week. So let's talk about pricing, right? We're talking about how prices are going to be rising. We have to understand what your initial markup sits at today. That's what you price your goods at over the wholesale cost. We need to know where that sits today and track how it will change with the tariffs and the increase in prices. Because one thing that we can't see is your initial markup drop down too much, right? That's your profit ceiling. So when we're looking at pricing, we're going to have a tendency right now to say, I can't raise the price. My customer won't pay for it. I'm nervous about these price increases, but I would be more nervous of seeing that initial markup drop. And if you're not tracking it week to week to see how it's progressing, you may lose sight of it. So I think the retailers that are really locked in are tracking these big metrics week to week and seeing how their business is being influenced by everything and then responding with calm, actions to what the actual numbers of their business is telling them. So I'm just a huge fan and proponent of the company scorecard. So really go check that out.
We'll get that. We'll have to drop that in the email when we're done today as well, just so you guys have access to that, those of you who are members. Um, to that point, I know that I hear from you, and you can maybe tell me this in the chat if this is you. Have you ever thought, there's a new boutique that came into my town. They're barely selling their products at just over wholesale. And maybe there's been a tinge of doubt in your mind that, oh gosh, my customers are going to go there and support them. Or why are they marking things up so low? Are they going to, is that going to affect me? Has anyone had that thought, that battle? I hear it every week. I hear it literally every week from retailers. Oh, what about that boutique that's just selling above wholesale? And I just, to your point, Dane, it's not going to be possible to do that and operate that way in this type of season. So the fact that you guys are here, the fact that you guys are hungry for information, you want to know your numbers, you want to understand your markup and your margin, tells me that you have a huge advantage to somebody who's just marking things over wholesale, because that's not going to work going forward. You have to know the margin in the meantime. Samantha, let's continue to talk about this, what we're seeing strong boutiques doing differently. I know you're visiting with boutiques every single day, also inside of Boutique Hub Black. There's a lot of strategies that are working in there right now. How are those boutiques? Dane talked about the number side of things and the report side of things. Can you talk about the marketing side of things and how they're showing up differently as well?
Yeah, for sure. If we have not met on a Boutique Hub Black call, like I said, we were talking every day, and we're getting to look inside of people's online presence. So, if you're at that point with that brick and mortar and you're saying, hey, that's going great, where can I sell so that I'm reaching outside of my zip code? Outside of that 2-hour driving distance. And so with online sales, if you don't have a e-commerce site that's working really hard for you yet, let's dig in and let's develop that, because your website is another sales rep for you. And if she's not pulling her numbers, it's because she hasn't been trained right. And so what we can really do is get that site to convert for you, because there are people all over the United States that are looking for your product, but they can't find them. So advantages that I'm seeing specific to tariffs with e-com, you've got this great opportunity to reach people everywhere. And we really want to get them when they're scrolling, that social scroll. And something that's so interesting, and we talk about Temu and we talk about Shein, and they're getting affected now. I know you guys have seen the post where maybe that $3 product now has an $80 shipping tag on it. And suddenly that t-shirt isn't worth $83. And so that's going to cause a change. So because of that, something interesting has happened, and this is an opportunity for you, is that Shein and Temu are pulling back their advertising dollars from Meta. They're not pushing their products as hard because they don't have the opportunity anymore. That shirt is not worth $83. So as those dollars are coming back and the demand on ad space is dropping, that means the cost of ad space is also going to drop. So for you all, you're going to have an opportunity to be able to run paid ads at a cheaper price. And so that, to me, I heard that and I got so excited, and I know we've been waiting for this day. And, we could say all kinds of things about all kinds of people, but I'm like, if this is an opportunity, let's take it and let's really capitalize on that.
Yeah.
I echo that. Oh, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if anybody was not paying attention to what Samantha just said right there, that was life-changing for many, many small businesses, especially Randy. I see you clapping your hands, because digital ads are expensive, right? Like we've looked at it. Facebook, Instagram, they've allowed us to play in their sandbox for free for years, 4 years. And they have now said, no, this is a money game. Y'all are going to have to pay to play. And then enter the Sheins and the Temus have capitalized on that. And they have ran those ads up. Now, if everybody just missed that, they're being priced out of it. It's not worth it to them to play in that sandbox right now. So therefore they're pulling those dollars, which means there's not as much demand there, which means, right, we're going to be able to capitalize on that as small businesses. We have to be ready for that. It is long gone are the days that you build it and they will come, right? We have got to drive traffic to our sites. We've got to drive traffic into our stores. People are inundated with opportunity. The swipe of every thumb, they are inundated with a new option to buy, right? So we've got to get in front of them where we can. So that's what Samantha is talking about. This is, if there's a shining lining in this, that is one of them. That is one of them. Sorry, Shein and Temu. Wah, wah. I mean, nobody's crying over that on this call. We're excited about the fact that now all of a sudden they got to get in the ring, right? And pay if they're going to be here, but they're not, they're choosing to back out. So that's awesome for us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, Joan Warren, I see your chat. Where is Jeff in his leopard pants? He should be here for this conversation right now, right?
He's helping somebody buy ad space at a great price. That's what he's doing right now.
Right.
Literally as we speak.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, the Shein and Temu and the reduced ad cost, I think, is one piece. And I mean, just leveling the playing field. Dane, you said the same thing about big box stores and Target and all these other places, Shein and Temu. We're going to see all of these prices really start to level out. But I just want to add in this point, I'm a big proponent when we talk about this in Retail Bootcamp and setting your pricing, is value-based marketing in relation to your price. So again, I'm a broken record if you've been through bootcamp, but the idea of your price is the perfect place, the equilibrium between where the perceived value and pleasure of owning that product outweighs the perceived pain of that consumer spending their hard-earned money on the product. And so what this is going to challenge you to do, I mean, whether you have to take an increased price on some tariff goods or not, no matter what, this is our time to really evaluate, am I using value-based marketing? So am I going back, am I merchandising my goods properly? Am I using stock photos, or am I, taking really high quality photos? I mean, there's a huge difference. What do you think is more valuable, a stock photo or a high quality photo that you've taken? You can tell me in the chat. It's going to be a high quality photo you've taken. Is walking into a store that has just a straight bar rack and everything in one line, or a highly merchandised store with mannequins and layers and vignettes and table displays, which one's more valuable? The merchandising is more valuable, right? Just like the high quality photos are more valuable. How about what's more valuable? You showing up and just showing photos of your products on social media, or you going live and doing reels and doing try-on sessions and doing example videos of how to wear and use and enjoy your products? What's more valuable? Is it just dropping the photos on social media? No, it's not. It's video. What do you think is more valuable? I'm just going to keep preaching. Sorry, I'm on a soapbox, guys. What else do you think is more valuable? Is it just pushing products every single post you make? Or do you think it's showing up as the face of your business and talking about the concerns that you have right now? Or sharing what it means to support a small business and how much you donated to the Little League teams in town last year? What's more valuable? What actually connects to people? Is not sharing your products. It's you building a relationship with your customers and showing up and being authentic and not being perfect, quite frankly, building community and connections and relationships. So all of those things combined are value-based marketing. So no matter what the price is, the price can go up all day long as the value continues to increase. That's why a luxury market in this world exists, is because they have a perceived value that's higher than what they have on a Shein or a Temu type product. So that is totally within your hands and within your control when it comes to your marketing. Makes me really excited.
And
All right.
Ashley, first of all, preach. The other part of this is customer service has to be on point. So if you have a storefront, I don't know how many people here have a physical store, but people are walking through the door, and if prices are increasing, so too does the service and the selling that they're getting, right? So attention to details, even something as simple as bringing a glass of water or a sparkling water, understanding the product in your store, the value of it, being able to connect with them and just give them an experience that is so important. The last thing that they want is to walk in the store, no one says hi, and that's what they expect from these big empty stores, right? You are their connection. So that customer service piece of it, it sounds a little old-fashioned, but service is going to be a tremendous part of really being able to kind of, again, stay competitive and stay ahead.
Oh, absolutely, Dane. Preach. Completely agree. All right, Sarah, let's continue this conversation. Just again, going back to, the value-based mindset and really telling a story with your products as a way to stay ahead.
Yeah, I think, and we've touched on it a little bit. So I just want to remind people, your products matter. Your store matters. You pay bills, you pay taxes in your area, you're employing people in your community. Your small business changes the lives in your community, right? And you have a story to tell. We talk about this all the time. It's time to tell the story and be loud and proud about it. And don't just say, I own a store. No, you do way more than that. You have got to be loud about that right now, and loud about your products. If you are sourcing products that have a story behind it, please tell it. Please tell it. We were talking about farm fresh eggs this morning in our meeting, and the difference between, this was Dane mentioned it, the difference between when egg prices went crazy. It's like, yeah, the eggs in the grocery store at $7, or little Nellie who has a bunch of chickens down the road and their farm, raised eggs and all this deal. I mean, she's always been selling $7 eggs. Now are her eggs, do they people think, oh, those are way too expensive now? The fact is that she's putting love and attention behind those eggs. You are putting a story behind your product. Whoever made whatever it is you're sourcing, there's a story there. You don't need to gatekeep that. That is part of that value. We've got to bring that back to our customer. And the thing is, if you're not proud of what you're selling right now, I'm going to ask you why you're selling it, right? Like when we're looking at some of these opportunities, right now, and one of the questions before is like, what are some of these strong retailers doing? They're getting really, really intimate with the products they have and saying, do I want to continue to do business with you or not? Right? Like we're going to attract some things and we're going to repel some things. We've got to really say no to some things that aren't, to say aren't cutting the mustard, are not paying the bills. And I think there's so much opportunity there. When you find those things that your customers will relate to, that are going to put out the extra dollar for because they're valuable, they serve a purpose for them, they solve that problem, you've got to remind them of that. And let's be honest, I say this all the time in retail boot camp. When I get dressed in the morning, I can put outfits together. I can solve that, like my issue, my problem, whatever that might be. Not everybody's the same. Some people look at a pair of black dress pants and are like, what would I wear with that? I have no idea, right? Or they might look at, whatever it might be for home decor and gift, or all you guys that sell Christmas decor, all of those things, like, gosh, I don't know. Could I introduce that into my house? I'm usually snowman, but could I do reindeer? I don't know. Right? You've got to be able to tell that story and help them understand what that value and how that is going to fit into their life. That's a big piece. The stores that just sell trinkets to sell trinkets, people aren't going to care right now. They're just not. They're not, because they're not going to be driven by the price anymore. That price is gone. So I think the whole, where's it made at? Who made it? What's the material? Why is it different? Like, understanding that. I mean, I'm a big follower of the whole Levi's jean evolution when they came on the scene, right? And like they prided themselves on quality denim. They did not go cheap. And their jeans lasted forever. And that's what were built on. They didn't get on the train of like, oh, well, nope, I could get cheaper denim and sell a lot more of them for less. No, they didn't. And if you're selling quality goods, be vocal about it and tell your staff about it. Make sure they understand the story that goes along behind it too. And I think right now the consumer is looking for that information to validate their purchase. And it's up to us to give it to them. It really is. It's up to us to give it to them. And if you've got some products in your inventory right now that are stale, that are stagnant, Dane touched on this a little bit ago, action item, you guys, get rid of those things to create cash right now to go source the products that you're going to be able to get in the future. Very, very important. Very, very important. Do not sit on some of those things that are not showing value to your customers. Dane, I see you.
Well, someone put in the chat, should I hold on markdowns right now? And the answer is no, right? That goes with the same concept of you want to move out the bad sellers, right? The slow sellers, slow turn, poor sell-throughs. We want to get those out. We want to create demand for them because they don't really have demand. And then we want to take that cash and we want to go invest it back in great merchandise that you need and is going to sell. So I always think about this visually, right? Think about the slow sellers that have been sitting there for a month, 2, 3, 4 months and haven't sold. It's dead inventory. It's cash just hanging out, collecting dust, and we really want to move that. So don't be afraid of a markdown now, because then what's going to happen is people are going to walk into the store. They're not going to see freshness. They're going to see the same old, same old. You want to think as a markdown as an opportunity to really get cash back in your pocket that you could go and spend.
Absolutely.
I say, let's go spend it. We're talking about that of like, what are you going to do? This is the important time to go to market. If you haven't been to a show recently to touch and feel the product and ask about the brand story, that's when there's going to be the next opportunity to do that. I'm looking at, I dropped that earlier about nearshoring in June in Dallas for the home and gift. But if you back it up, a week or so before that is going to be the Dallas Apparel Show. And that's when we have our boutique summit too. We bring in vendors, and that's an opportunity for you guys to make that connection with those wholesale brands and ask them. And what a lot of people like to do that I've noticed, and I know you guys coach on this all the time, is when you talk to a brand at a show, at a market, if you're there at the boutique summit, is either take notes or record them saying it and bring it back to train your customers. You kind of feel creepy. You're like, can I record you saying that? I was talking to Poppy and Pout earlier, and she was like, people say it to me all the time, and I let them record it so they can bring it back and train the customer, because that's so important. So if you guys don't have that on your calendar, for sure, add that to a to-do of plan when your next market trip is going to be, so that you can meet with those vendors and find out about, maybe changing kind of your supply chain, or just if they've changed their supply chains, you're going to want to ask them in person about that too. And that's going to be June in Dallas.
And
I totally agree with that. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just going to say, I've been in your guys' shoes before, and I'm sure there's been a time for you guys that you have went to market and you went and looked and thought that line would really hit with my customers. I want to bring that in. However, I'm looking at my budget and it's not there. And then you go back to your store, back to your warehouse, and guess what? You look at a whole rack of crap that you're like, oh, there's my money. There's my money sitting there. And whatever it is, that's why haven't I turned that into cash? Yeah. That's what you do right now. If you're looking at some stuff that you're over, like you're just over it, and your customers are over it and your staff is over it, that is your money sitting there that may or may not, probably will, hold you back from investing in inventory in the next few weeks or the next few months. That's probably going to cost you more money. The inventory is probably going to be more expensive, right? So you're going to have to create some cash flow in your store. You're going to have to create some cash somewhere. And that inventory that nobody wants right now and hasn't wanted it for 6 weeks, they're not going to want it in another 3 weeks. So at this point, cash is better than waiting out on this margin. Getting whatever cash you can possibly for it right now, cleaning house with it, spring cleaning. Who loves a good spring cleaning? My gosh, it just like clears the mind, right? I never want to see those shirts again in my life. Make them go away. That's the attitude. And then you take that money and you have that to pay bills, reinvest, do something else. But I think that's one of the big misses right now that not a lot of stores are doing, because they're afraid. They're like, well, if I can't get inventory, at least I have this. Well, if we're looking at it like food in the refrigerator, what does that feel like? I open that refrigerator up and I see the same food that's been sitting in there for 8 weeks. Like, now what am I going to do with it? Nothing. So clean it out.
I just got so many good analogies. I'm just picturing the leftovers that no one in my family will eat.
No.
But you're right. And I just want to reiterate, when we say move it out, we are talking about a specific markdown strategy, not a blanket sale across your whole store. Correct. The retail boot camp is giving me the sweats as I think about this. This is not a blanket sale, because we do not sell the diamonds with the dirt. We only sell the dirt on sale. And someone mentioned this in the chat. I want to bring this up, just the value of destashing, if that's the case. If you have not restyled, reshot, repurposed, relaunched all the products, that's step number one, but then use the destash group. And I'm seeing a lot of retailers who are saying, I'm unsure of, buying this from X vendor right now. So I'm going to the destash groups to pick up some fresh opportunities there too, and test out some different vendors. So lots of good things, and lots of vendors. Again, the conversation I see in the chat, again, Pink Panache, Corky's is here. Those are another 2 more vendors who are not impacted. So the value of going to market, having those conversations, there's a lot of people who can help. Dane, let's go back. I want to dig into our numbers a little bit more in terms of where we can find more growth and more opportunity. As people are getting smarter with their numbers, where are some other places to find some opportunity right now?
When you say opportunity, are you talking about in there? Well, here's what I'm kind of where I think that there's a lot of opportunity, right? Where can you start developing new product categories, right? So when you're going to market, where can you actually build in some areas that, here's a great example. If you're a women's fashion store, accessories are going to become really hot. And the way to think about this is, and Samantha, we talked about this in Nashville, is, you may not want to go out and buy a new outfit in if consumer spending is a little bit down, but you may come in and pick up a new purse. It's just like the lipstick analogy, right? And
Yeah.
so do I want to start looking for opportunities in new categories? And this may be a time to actually pivot, right? To try something that you haven't tried before. And as long as we're measuring it and seeing the success rate, how it's selling, and keeping it really, under control, then it's a great time to actually take a little bit of risk. And I know that's scary. And I know the instinct is to kind of clam up, but if there are areas that you've been interested in that you want to explore, that you think may be right for this time and this moment, I really encourage you to make that, purchase, and just make sure you're tracking it. So if, Ashley, when we talk about sell-through, and it's going to look a lot different for different types of businesses, but, let's say you're a women's boutique, right? By week 8, you should really be looking at your aged merchandise, right? If you're a home and gift, it may be a little bit longer. If you're a shoe store, it'll be longer, but you really want to find out, what is my threshold, right? When do I want to say, if I haven't sold 50% in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, this is now dead inventory. So we want to take some risks. We want to, be able to expand our business and expand our product categories, but we also want to make sure we measure it and fail fast if we need to. So there still is opportunity. And I don't want people to think that, clamming up right now is probably actually the thing that will hurt your business the most.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the thing with the ports is really what's concerning to me, because I think if people decide to clam up, or vice versa, we decide to hoard inventory like toilet paper during COVID and overstock, like both are just as dangerous. So I think a heightened awareness of what's happening, and yes, there are people who are impacted, is that the end of the world for you? No, it's not. There's lots of other opportunities out there. And if we can stress anything the most, it is now is the time to double down on your numbers and what those numbers are truly telling you, and to discover some new opportunity in understanding turn, understanding your markdowns, and just, getting what's fresh. So Sarah, let's come back to this. I know there's lots of Q&A. I see lots of questions coming in the chat. It's probably time to shift to that. As we shift into some question and answer, if one of you wants to just, kind of be the quarterback, I can help with quarterbacking in a minute. I have to go back to something I wrote on a Post-it note when you were sharing, Sarah. You were talking about storytelling and solving problems. And I just want to hit the marketing piece one more time. Someone asked in the chat, how do you do that if you're an online business? How do you do the storytelling? That's hard to tell the story of every single piece of product and the quality, but it's not. It's through your product descriptions. It's through video. It's through going live. It's through how you're merchandising pieces. That quality shows up. And anytime we can also just position our products to solve people's problems, that's the storytelling we're after. And if we solve people's problems, they will pay whatever price you are asking to get those problems solved. So my soapbox nutshell, if I can just wrap up that thought, it is that cheaper is not better. If people want cheaper, they can go to Walmart. Better is better. If they want quality, if they want service, if they want someone to solve their problems, that's why they come to you.
Ashley, another question I saw in the chat, and I put my answer, and I'd be interested to hear from you guys too. It's I buy most of my product at market in Vegas in August. What's that going to look like? Will the vendors who source from China have less product to offer? My thinking is, number one, we're going to have vendors that don't source from China, and they're showing up. They're going to be excited, business as usual in August. And then, like we heard from Joseph from Trey BN, some of our brands that are manufacturing exclusively in China are moving their supply chain so that they can show up in August and have product from you. And I always tend to look on the bright side. And we will find a way. We found a way in 2020. We will find a way through again. We have to be optimistic and look for those opportunities. What do you think? I mean, kind of what is, if you could shake a crystal ball, what's going to be happening in August?
Yeah. Well, again, going back to it, it depends on what category you're in. It depends on what you're selling. So again, I know we're talking apparel in August. Home and gift's a little different. And you probably have some later information than I do even on home and gift. But in terms of apparel, there might be less vendors there. That's my crystal ball. I think some of them may not go. Some of them may go direct to their top retailers and try to move product directly that way first. But I think the vendors who are there are going to be there with a real game plan, like Joseph, who has moved production, and many people who are not in China in the first place. hidden denim, right? Hidden
Vietnam.
manufactured where?
Vietnam, yes.
Vietnam. And there's a lot of the higher quality, higher dollar brands are in Vietnam, not in China. So I think the more you have those conversations with your brands directly, you know who's impacted and who's not. And so for them, I think it's business as usual. And it's just a greater opportunity to find some new brands and some new goods. Home and gift, though, I do think is a little different because their ordering cycle is much further out. And so when you're ordering further out, there's just, it seems to be more impact there. And things we were talking as a group earlier today as Christmas trees, things like artificial Christmas trees and Christmas ornaments and goods like that. We're seeing a greater impact kind of in that direction more so than in apparel right now. Can you or Sarah elaborate on that? I know you had some information there.
Yeah, I would say, Sarah, I was talking to Amy Harper from Dallas Market Center, those of you that have gone there before, and I said, what's going on over there? You know, like what's happening? Because she alluded to, what if there's no Christmas? And I was like, okay, these are really big macro statements. Let's take it at micro level. Let's go to all those.
Yeah.
And just the issue is home and gift, you are ordering further out. So if you place that order in January for Christmas and they're getting ready to ship those goods, the price that you ordered it at is going to look different once those tariffs are applied to those products. And so how is that going to affect the price? And what is that conversation? I know that we guys have seen too, DMC is really rallying for, could we have a pause on tariffs when we get these products in? And it is from that lens of the home and gift of how are we going to get all these holiday products in when they were ordered at X price and now that price is 150% more. And I don't have an answer to that. We don't know. That's a hard question.
Yeah, it is a hard question. And here's the thing, like all the information that we know could change tomorrow.
Yeah.
It might not, but there is so many unknowns. And the reality is like, we've got to play the risk. We've got to do what we can. We're in a risk game. We've got to do what we can to reduce our risk as much as we possibly can. And if that is diversifying our products, it's having these conversations with our vendors, it's positioning ourselves in the best light we possibly can. And, you know, here's one strategy that I'm curious if anybody has done. Has anybody picked up the phone and called your vendors and said, hey, it's Sarah and I'm in the game. Like, don't forget about me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm making moves on my end and I'm ready, right? When you've got the product, I'm here. I'm your girl. And they may be like, what the heck? Why would she call and say that? Just like that kid that came up from the back of the class and said, hi, I'm Sarah. I may be getting a C in your class right now, but I really am working hard. And the teacher's like, okay, yeah, I do grades. I'm like, I'm giving Sarah a B. She showed up, right? Like, be vocal. Don't just go off into the abyss and hope your vendors remember you at the end of the day. They very well may have a long, long list and you want to make it as close to the top as you possibly can. And if you haven't made it with your spend, make it with your commitment to them, right? Like, say, here I am. Be relevant. I don't know what's going to happen. And who knows? But at the end of the day, if you're really going to show up and you expect them to treat you right, treat them right too, right? If you've got something you're going to cancel, be open with them about that. Have adult conversations together. I think that would be one of the big asks I have. And I'm sure all the brands that are listening right now are like, absolutely. Please don't give me that fake credit card that I have to call you 15 times, because these goods that are going to make it are going to be hot commodities. They're going to be hot commodities. So they're not going to call you 3 times. If you played that game of a fake credit card or call me, I'll turn my credit card back on kind of a thing, you really might not get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the balance of the partnership. It has to be a win-win, and it can't be, oh, I'm just going to cancel on a whim or I'm going to make it difficult for my vendor. You may not get that vendor back.
Right.
It's all over. Dane, go ahead.
Well, Sarah, I was going to say with not having the crystal ball, we learned this lesson so hard in 2020, right? Towards the end of 2020, everyone stopped buying product and everyone thought, the outlook was so terrible. And then 2021 was the largest year in retail to date. The people that continued to buy product were stocked, locked, and ready to go. And the people that shied away, a lot of them didn't make it through. So this is a great opportunity to really say, again, deepen those relationships with the vendors that are working. Buy, because there is going to be shipping cancellations, right? It's going to happen. By the end of the year, by Q4, there will be something, that will be canceled, delayed. It's going to happen. So if you don't get that product and you're already light on buying, you don't want empty shelves come Q4. So, it's really important to, again, not have that repeat of history that we saw in 2021 that really hurt a lot of retailers.
So true. Understanding inventory on hand and making a plan. All right, I'm going to pitch this question, you guys. We've got a couple more minutes. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Thank you guys for jumping in today. Drop your questions in the chat. You guys, I'm gonna pitch you a couple more. Clara asks, do you guys see vendors increasing costs on goods they already have in the country as they're trying to come up with funds to pay for the cost that they will be importing soon, as that extra 145 is hard to come up with? What do we see vendors doing in that regard?
I would say answer wise, your trustworthy vendors obviously are not going to be adding a tariff to a product that didn't have a tariff on it. That's what goes back to the relationship. And I will preach this all day long, go to market and meet people, get inside the boutique hub community and meet the brands. So many of our brands are in this group now, and they are small businesses like you. And just as you wouldn't do something that would jeopardize a relationship with a customer, they would not do that to you. If you find a brand that's like that, that's somebody waving a red flag, and that's an opportunity for you to find someone else to source with.
Great advice. Great advice. Creative Co-op's here. I didn't know that. Awesome.
I just have to call out this comment because this was so great. Sarah from Homebody says, I feel like I'm too small of a fish to have those relationships with vendors. And I love that Creative Co-op says, home decor and gift vendor here. We love all customers, no matter the size. You are the heart of our business. I think we have to remember that our vendors are small businesses too, and they don't do business just on the size of one order alone. It is the volume of all the small orders that matter. So you might feel like a small fish, but every single fish matters in the eyes of our vendors who are also small businesses like we are. So very good.
Shout out to Amber. Amber, that's amazing.
All right. Emily asks, would you recommend ordering more now in the event that this brings, that things begin to sell out, or just stay the course? I'm already seeing delays in shipments, so I worry it will get worse. Dane, you just alluded to this. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, again, I think this is about knowing your best sellers, your best moving product categories, and your slow moving product categories. So yes, of course, in your best selling product categories, I would pad it a little bit, right? And take that money away from things that aren't giving you that ROI. So it really is about just the worst thing that you can do is just either pull back unilaterally or invest indiscriminately, right? We really want to be laser focused with where we're putting our dollars. And Emily's end of the question was, I'm already seeing delays in shipping get worse. The other thing I would recommend is be firm. And if you don't have on your order forms, right, be firm with the cancellation windows, right? So if something is being shipped outside of a cancellation window and you don't need it, ask that vendor for a discount, right? And if it gets really bad and it comes, if you're getting holiday goods in January, do not accept those orders, right? Don't accept them if you have a cancel ship window. So, you want to create really strong relationships with the vendors, but you also need to stick up for yourself if they're trying to push things that you don't need anymore. You can always ask for a discount, and you could always, ask them to swap goods as well. So there's really a conversation that needs to keep going between the vendor and the retailer.
There's so many great vendors out there. So many, it's not worth wasting time on a bad one. And if you need help finding great ones, Samantha Connor's your girl. She can help recommend vendors all day, every day. So good. Brooke asks this, and I see Beth just helped answer, but she says, I'm a multi-vendor boutique. How do I have this conversation with my store vendors about how they should plan ahead for what's coming? Beth obviously says, send them this recording, send them this to watch. There's lots of information out there, and
For sure.
we're going to keep putting information out there. Just as a reminder, we go live every single Monday with kind of a state of the union and what's happening. And so Monday, Cinco de Mayo, maybe I'll wear a hat and bring a margarita, but I will be live in the members only group and on Zoom to talk about this again, and to talk about how to plan your business and your marketing and what's coming for the month of May. So there's all kinds of opportunities to share the information you're hearing, margarita or not. Sarah, what do you think?
No, I would just say that, like, hopefully you're a Boutique Hub member and you lean on us and your community for resources and up-to-date information. That's what I said at the very beginning. We know what it's like to be in a retail space where you're head down every day. You guys are wearing so many hats. Holy smokes, right? You are your dev team. You are your inventory management. You're your maintenance team. You're your cheerleader. You're all these things. You're the graphic designer, all the things. And at the same time, now all of a sudden you have to like figure out tariffs. What? And then you get all this information and you're trying to dissect it. At the same time, you're just trying to survive, and maybe you're going to eat lunch today too. I don't know. Hopefully you get that. But that's why we're saying lean on us. Our phones are going crazy, keeping up with everything we are keeping up with overseas, as well as at the ports and all the things. And we are putting all this information together, and we want to bring it to you every single week inside the hub live, but in our community chats every day. So like we said, the state of this could all change. And if you're in the boutique hub, you see conversations happening around the clock right now, because this is such a powerful conversation, so many moving pieces, but we want to help you with that. So lean on us, right? Ask those questions in the community. If we don't know, you guys know. If Sarah doesn't know, she'll say, I don't know, but I know who does. And I love the fact that the boutique hub, it's not just about what you know, it's who you know, and surrounding yourself with the right people to get the answers. So we want to help you guys with that. So for the person asking about your multi-vendor store, your pop-up store, man, get inside the hub and lean in on those resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So-
sorry, the thing that too is to call out, the online is great, but the in-person, Ashley, I cannot wait for the boutique summit. It's June 8th and 9th. It's in Dallas. Beth, I wanted to extend this to everybody that's on this. If you guys have not gotten a ticket yet, we want you to come to Summit. Beth's going to drop a link and a coupon code for you guys. It is really important that you keep ahead of this conversation. What we talked about today on, May 1st, is going to look different when Ashley's got her sombrero on May 5th. And it's going to look different. Now you have to do it. It's going to look different on June 8th. And so the way to do it is to do it together, of course. So grab that ticket. We want you guys to be there, because getting in a room, you can sit down with Dane at a table and ask him, a million markdown questions, and he'll have the answers. You can ask Sarah about how to get rid of brown bananas, and she'll know. You can ask Ashley where she got her sombrero, but also more importantly, I don't know my numbers. Can I have some help? And she'll help you with that. So make sure you guys are there, because that's going to be really important.
Absolutely. So the code's tariff, and Beth just dropped that in the chat. How many people correctly knew how to spell tariff before this happened? Has anyone tried to put multiple R's in the word? I mean, it's all a lesson all the way around. All right. Well, this has been so good, you guys. I'm going to recap with this. I took notes as you all were speaking, and if I could just sum it up, here's the biggest opportunities and action items I think that we can take. Number one, I think everyone has an opportunity to lean into sourcing smarter. Who are your best-selling vendors? What is your bread and butter? What is working? What's not? Where's it come from? A lot of us had no idea before this conversation where our goods even came from. So what an opportunity to source smarter and get what's really going to make sense for your business. The second huge opportunity I heard from you guys was just the value of relationships. Your vendors are business owners. They are families. I've met Joseph's family, amazing, family run operation, small business. Your vendors want to get to know you and treat you like their family as well. So build relationships with your vendors, ask the questions. No one here is a small fish for sure. Third huge opportunity I heard from you guys is just value-driven marketing. Quit sharing stock photos and slapping products up there for me to buy and expecting me to buy them. No, show me the value. It's like Jerry Maguire, show me the money, show me the value. Tell me why I should buy this stuff from you, or is it just something I could buy at Walmart? Because in that case, cheaper is better and I'm going to go to Walmart. So show me the value. Number three, Dane, know your numbers. Know your numbers. There's all kinds of opportunity to, there's no excuse not to know your numbers at this point. Everyone here is capable. I know everyone here had a poor experience with your math teacher like I did in high school that somehow taught you the lesson that you shouldn't know your numbers or you're not smart enough to. Well, that's BS, and you should know your numbers, and you can. The next is just having the conversation with your community about real talk and what's happening and how you are being impacted, but what it means to actually support a small business. And then finally, last opportunity, and maybe just a celebration point, a little cherry on top, is this is going to level the playing field for you as a small business owner versus the big box store, and Hallelujah versus Shein and Temu. So there's great opportunity in every bad situation if you choose to look for it. And so that's our stance. We're going to choose to look for the opportunity and keep you posted of the things that you should be aware of, because there definitely are some warning signs, some red lights flashing, some things you got to stay up on, and we're going to help you do that every single step of the way. So that's it from our team here, you guys. Dane, Sarah, Samantha, Beth, Phoebe, everybody, thank you guys for helping today. Everyone in the chat, thank you for jumping in. We've dropped our emails here. We will send out the replay. We'll send out some resources. Dane's know your numbers sheet, like we were talking, Samantha, all the brands that you talked about, all the brands on hubventory.com, our very own wholesale marketplace that not only offer our members discounts, but also can highlight some of those made in America opportunities as well. So thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. Thanks for trusting us with your business.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.